All right, good evening and welcome to another episode of Release the Quacken. We're here today to talk about how week 17 went in our training and talk about what's coming up on week 18 of our 2023 Marathon Weekend adventure at Disney World. Today on the call, we have our friend Lonnie.
Hey, everybody.
We have Jody with us.
Hi, everyone.
We have Kevin.
Hey,
and we have our special guest Ashley tonight. How's everybody doing?
Hi. Very good.
Doing well.
We'll kind of go around and we'll figure out how everybody, like I said, their training went last week. But before we get into that, let's talk to Ashley just for a few minutes and find out what she's training for and a little bit about her plan. And then we'll go through, talk about our week, and then we'll jump into some more about Ashley and her history of stuff. So what are you running this year for Marathon Weekend, Ashley?
I am attempting to do Dopey.
All right.
That's
now,
awesome.
Are you following a training plan specifically or?
So I started following the Galloway plan. I had to modify mine a little bit. I am through this whole process. I ended up getting a new job and relocating out to Georgia, and so it has sort of thrown off my plan a little bit from where it should have been. So I've modified mine to still get the miles in. I've done enough races in the past that I'm hoping that carries me a little bit, and I can, as long as I keep some of the longer back-to-back races later, I should be okay.
Good. So let's talk about how last week went. So Lonnie, how'd your runs go? We had an easier week, I guess. We had two 45-minute runs and a 5-miler, I guess it is now, right?
Right. So this week I was able to do my 2 45-minute runs. Did not do the 5 miles. I figured I'd just do it early tomorrow morning. Had a busy weekend. I was able to do, of course, I told you guys I've incorporated some strength training. So I did, 3 strength training workouts, a couple of core workouts on the Peloton app, to kind of keep it well-rounded. So I wasn't too worried about the 5 miles, but plan on knocking them out tomorrow.
Good. What about you, Jody? Are you still on a modified plan or have you settled into with the rest of us now?
No, I'm back on with all the rest of you. So, but I accidentally did 6 on Saturday because I somehow misread I was a week ahead. So I did 6 instead of 5. So I guess I get to do 6 next week too. But I did the 2 45 minutes. I swam on Friday. I swam a 2000 on Friday. I missed my strength training class on Thursday, which bummed me out because I really love that class, but we just had too much kid stuff going on that morning to get me to go to that class. So, but yeah, I went to Orange Theory like I always do, and just kind of plugging away. Nothing wild or crazy.
Good. I don't know if you know or not, but every Sunday night there's a show that comes on. It talks about the training plans and tells you how many miles you have for the upcoming week.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
I just glanced quickly before I went out. It was early, and I just didn't pay attention. So thanks.
And typically, there's even a girl on there that tells us what the
plan holds up the calendar and reminds everyone. Yes, I don't know who she is. She doesn't follow her own medicine, so yeah.
All right. For you that are listening, we had Gene just jumped on here to join us for the evening too. So how'd your training go this week, Gene?
What training? What training? No, I'm on hold a little bit with some health issues. I was supposed to have a little procedure this week that did not happen. And I think, I told you guys all about that, but we're going to get right on it as soon as we can. I'm feeling a little bit better. And I'm planning on getting some runs in this week to just make sure I don't lose too much ground. But I'm not worried. I get by with a little help from my friends.
No, we'll get you there. We're all in the same boat, in the same mash unit, I think. So, all right, Kevin, how'd your week go?
So after a few bad weeks, I actually had a pretty good week for a change, which is good. So you get some good ones and bad ones. Well, this week I had my 2 midweek runs. I was able to run them without any issue and felt really good. The cooler weather's definitely helped a lot. The hydration's helped a lot. Focusing on that. Staying on top of that has been a key, and I've been able to skip several walk breaks and run right through them. This weekend, I actually moved ahead 1 week because I'm trying to build in a buffer for the holidays just in case 1 week comes up and I can't get one of the longer runs in.
Right.
I missed most of the long runs. I've only done 2 on the plan so far, so I'm a little behind, but I've been here before and I know how it is. So this weekend, I focused on time on my feet, and I did the 6 mile with the Magic Mile, and that went pretty well. My time on that was Actually, further ahead than I expected.
Good.
But we had 2 fall festivals and lots of time on my feet. So that was my focus this weekend, and I feel like I've made up some ground finally. So
Wait a minute. So Kevin doesn't get in trouble for doing the wrong week, but I do.
She doesn't, or he doesn't hold the thing up every week and say, "This is what we're doing."
But Kevin knows you take the good. He said it. You take the good, you take the bad, you take it all, and there you have, the facts of life.
Yeah.
Facts of life.
All right. So the music gets out of hand a little bit here. Ashley, how'd your week go?
So I got the 2 45-minute runs in. I am grateful that my job has a gym in it, so I've been getting those in like over my lunch break during the week, which has helped me stick to that a ton. My weekend run ended up getting pushed back because my horse came out here and I haven't seen her in like 2 months or so, and so I rode her yesterday and today and absolutely destroyed my legs, and so that was my workout for the weekend.
Nice.
Good. That's actually a lot of strength training in legs. I mean, that's great cross training. It's a lot more than people probably realize.
Oh yeah, it is. Everyone's like, yeah, the horse does all the work. It's like, no.
Yeah. In fact, if the horse does the 5 miles and you're sitting on it, technically you actually did 5 miles, right? Because you're on it. So technically, I mean, it works.
Have you ever worn your watch when you ride before? It does count your steps. It's pretty
It does
funny.
count the steps, yes.
Yeah, it does. Like because the way your hips rock back and forth, it counts your steps. I'm always like, this is awesome.
I ride English too, and so the way we do it is we kind of use like the muscles from our knees up to sort of stand up in the saddle every time they step. So, and we're heading into no stirrup November, so the leg workout will be strong in the cross training.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot. How was yours, Jeff? How was your week?
I got 2 of the 3 in. I got 1 45-minute on early in the week, and then actually I finished up I did a 3 mile this week because I'm still on a modified plan, trying to catch up to everything else. I got a 3 mile in about 2 hours ago whenever we got home from a family outing. So feeling good still, starting to extend intervals a little bit more. So we're getting to where we need to be. Not quite there yet, but we're getting close.
But you're running, right? You're running now.
Yep. We are awesome. Doing intervals. I'm doing 15:30s for the most part, and every once in a while I'll extend them out to a 30:30 or a 60:30. Just depends on how I feel, but it's still mostly 15:30s until next couple of weeks, and then we'll see what happens from there. So
that's awesome.
Getting stronger. So, all right, Ashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about your Run Disney history? We'll start there.
All right, so the first Run Disney race that I did was Princess in 2018. That was, I hated running. I was never the child that ran. I wanted nothing to do with running. I was the last kid to finish the mile. Part of that was because I have a heart condition where my heart beats faster than it should for no apparent reason. And so I'm on medication that controls that, which I just looked at that as like a way that I could actually do things. I never thought I would be able to run with it too. But thankfully following the Galloway plan and doing the intervals is actually enough to keep my heart rate in a happy place. And so I've just enjoyed kind of challenging myself and seeing where I can go. So that was my first one. And I signed up for the 5K, the 10K, and the half. And everyone that knew me thought I had absolutely lost my mind. And I thought I had lost my mind. And so it was, but I was like, it's Disney. I love Disney. Like, I hate running, but it's Disney. It can't be bad. And I went and I had an absolute blast. And I've done several other Princess weekends since then. I've done a couple wine and dine weekends. I did my first marathon weekend this past year. Honestly, getting to do the costumes and stuff is the most fun part for me.
So what's on? So you're doing marathon in 2023. Do you have any other races on the horizon?
No, some of my friends local in Georgia are trying to get me to do some of their local ones that they're signing up for to help with some of the longer run days, which I like that plan because it makes it easier when you can have support along at least like 13 of your miles when you have the 20-mile runs instead of trying to stock up your own aid stations and stuff along the training runs. So I might do that. But besides that, Dopey's probably going to be my last race for a little while.
Have you Were you running before you decided to do the 5K, 10K half? Did you do races before that, or you just jumped from
Oh,
nothing to a challenge?
yeah, pretty much. So I had some things go on in my life and I needed motivation to keep going to the gym. And so I was like, well, sign up for this. This seems like it could be interesting. And so I signed up for that and I did my first 10K like the October before because I was trying to get a proof of time. And then I realized how far off from a proof of time I was. And so I was like, that's just not happening anymore. And then I was still so terrified that I wasn't going to finish in Disney, and so I signed up for a local half that December just so I could have done that distance. And then after that, I was like, okay, we're good. We can do this. And since then, I've done like 21 or 22 half marathons.
Wow.
Wow.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. We went from nothing to like let's do like 6 or 7 of these a year.
So you've done Marathon Weekend, you've done Princess Weekend, you've done Wine and Dine, right?
Yes.
Was there a which is your favorite? What's the
So I really like Princess Weekend just because I like the princesses, but Wine and Dine has to probably be my favorite, just because of all the food.
I love that after party at Wine and Dine. I had heard negative things about it, so my expectations were pretty low, but we went and had a fantastic time. I thought it was so much fun. Maybe we're in the right place and hanging out with the right people, but I really enjoyed it. So
I had a lot of fun at the after party. I think if I do it again, I'll probably plan a nap sometime in the afternoon because the getting up at 2 a.m. and then being up and in the parks all day and then doing the after party, I start to lose steam pretty quick.
yeah, that's a long day for certain.
Mhm.
So what are your plans for this marathon weekend? Are you planning on walking the 5K like the Galloway plan recommends? Or are you going to go all like? Do you have a strategy that you're shooting for?
So I am walking the 5K. My friends and I are still trying to plan out our costumes for that, but we're like, we can go a little more elaborate because we're just going to walk this one. We're probably going to, I'm probably going to lose them for the other races because they're a lot faster than I am. But for the 10K, I'm probably going to walk most of that one and just occasionally run here and there. And then I'll do intervals for the half and the full.
Yeah,
Smart.
That's a good plan. For the 10K, if you see that little green tent, just run for that,
Yeah.
and then stop. That's a good plan.
unless the tape's in front of you whenever you start a race, then you have to run, right?
And then
Yeah.
you have to run. You're obliged to run. It's in the Geneva Convention. But other than that, once you get out, stop.
That's always been my plan. There's always somebody in my group who decides to start running at some
Like, yeah.
point.
Yeah, I start looking back. I'm like, is somebody coming? What's going on? I start running.
I just had a thought, and I just want to put this out there that I think that Disney's really missing just a big opportunity because Wine and Dine, obviously, great, big race, big party. I think that if Disney paired, some kind of a race weekend with the food and butterfly festival, I just think it would be a win-win situation. I'm just telling you.
Yes, we could all wear butterfly costumes.
We can all wear butterfly costumes. We sure can.
Gene, you could dress up like a caterpillar even. That would be great.
Yeah. And when
you
you
could
cross the
change the
finish
costume
line,
throughout
It's shredded off.
right?
shred it off and
Giant
let your
wings.
wings pop up. There you go.
That would be great.
That would be great.
Goodness.
Ashley's
So
like,
what-
I don't know where this went wrong, but somewhere along the way.
So what brings you keep coming back to these races? What about it makes you decide that you want to keep doing Run Disney and ultimately decide that I think I'm going to try Dopey this year because that's just kind of an insane task to take on.
So
Stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I've always been the type of person that when someone tells me I can't do something, I have to immediately prove them wrong and that I can do it. And so
Great
I've done
answer.
it on. So I'm it was like, okay, well, what's the next challenge? And because I did the 10K and the full this year, I didn't feel like Goofy was enough of a challenge going forward, which I laugh because it's only on Disney where like only the marathon or like only Goofy sounds like you're insane. But yeah, I have some friends that really wanted to do Dopey, and so we're like, all right, it's the anniversary year, we're gonna run it together, or at least go to Disney together. But the Disney races, it's really the only time of year that I go to the Disney parks, and so they just kind of keep bringing me back for the people and the environment. It's a lot of fun. I've made so many friends through these races, and you tend to bond with people when you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and then have to hang out until the race starts.
So Ashley, you talked a little bit about you love costuming, and I happen to know that you're good at sewing, which I am not. So talk about some of your costumes in the past and what you've done and what you have, like one or two that you've been super proud of.
So it's funny because this was really what started my sewing, was for these races, because I was like, I can make like a basic skirt and then just sort of embellish tops, and then we've got a costume. Great. And so my first year I did, trying to remember, I've made so many costumes now.
It's cool.
I remember distinctly from the first one, I loved my Elsa costume that I did. That one was a lot of fun. And I had a lot of people comment on that one during the race. But honestly, as much as I love the princesses, I probably had the most fun with the like villains wine and dine, just because it was so different from anything else that I had done. And so I did, probably the one that I'm most proud of is I did Take Off from Moana. And
cool.
that one was insane. I mean, I did like makeup on my face so that I had like the lava coming through the cracks and everything. And of course it rained both times I wore that costume, and it stayed. The makeup somehow still stayed. So I was pretty proud of that. And I mean, I made like a crystal tiara thing that I put with it. I had a skirt and a shirt that I basically took like fabric paint to create the lava lines and matched it up from the top to the bottom. And then I had like an LED spiral on my chest.
Wow.
So
Nice.
that one's probably one that I'm most proud of for the running costumes. But the Disney races, actually, I tend to jump from like 0 to 60. So I went from like, I can sew the skirt with 2 pieces to I'm going to make like Belle's ball gown from. So I actually have Belle's ball gown. I don't run in it, but I started getting into like the cosplay stuff and going to conventions. So I've actually competed in the Eastern Cosplay Championships at the New York Comic-Con with the Belle dress. So the Run Disney stuff sort of opened a lot of doors for me that I never would have imagined getting into.
Really cool.
And I'm pretty impressed that I can like put my race bib on correctly with safety pins. That's a win for me. So that's you are in a totally different league.
I order my costume on Amazon.
That works.
So
go
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jody. Go ahead, Jody.
No, go ahead. Nope, all you.
So with the races and everything, what's your park plan? I know you did the 10K in the full last year. Do you plan to hit parks pretty heavily during Dopey, or are you just going to kind of focus on the races? Is this a Disney trip running, or is this a racecation that happens to be at Disney for you?
So this one's going to be a little bit more of a racecation and less Disney time than I would necessarily like. I think I'm probably going to do 2, maybe 3 days in the parks. Just trying to keep this trip on a little bit more of a budget than previous trips. And so I think we're doing the parks after the 5K and then the parks after the marathon. And then some of our group has to go home. I want to go into the parks on Monday, the day after, and just sort of relax and chill after that before I either sit on a plane or drive home.
I'll be there on Monday, so if you can hang out, let me know.
That sounds like a good plan.
So I was just going to ask you, now that you're in Georgia, are you going to drive in this time because you're closer?
So I work for Delta now, so I do have flight benefits. So what I'll probably do is try and get on like a standby flight, and if I don't make it on the flight, then I'll just drive down.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I was thinking about all your costumes and all the way you have to pack all that, make sure. I was just thinking all this stuff that you need for all of it. That's amazing.
So I'm terrible at procrastinating, and several times I have actually brought materials to finish making the costumes to my hotel in Disney. So my Cricut has come to Disney before, and like the night before the race, I'm cutting out things to put on the costumes, and I need to be better about it, but I'm terrible about sleeping before the races. And so previously during race weekends, I would take the red-eye flight out Wednesday night, so not sleep Wednesday night, and then go to the expo on Thursday. And then I remember one year in particular, for it was for Wine and Dine, the Halloween party was still happening because I was there on Halloween. And so I flew in Wednesday, didn't sleep Wednesday night for the red-eye flight, got there Thursday, went into the parks, did the expo and everything, and then went to the Halloween party Thursday night, got back from the Halloween party at like 1 a.m., realized there was no point in sleeping, so just stayed up and went and ran the 5K, came back. I think I napped for like 4 hours and then went to the parks all day. And then for some reason, I just couldn't sleep that night. So I stayed up all night working on further embellishing another costume and ran the 10K, napped for like another 4 hours. I think I got like 6 hours of sleep that night before the half, but it was not good. I need to be better about that. I definitely was like falling asleep standing up in the parks after that.
There's no way. I would never ever be able to do that. I would just not be nice to anyone. So just forewarning all of you, if I'm not nice, I didn't get enough sleep and I'm not a nice girl. So that's why I make my dinner reservations at like 4:30 p.m. because I need to eat early and then go to bed.
I'm determined. That's another reason why we didn't plan like parks every day during Dopey, because we're determined to go to bed early. Because I'm like, there's no way I can do this. But my friends all laugh at me because after marathon weekend, even getting more sleep, I was still so tired. We're like in the parks, and I think it was the safari that we were on, and I'm like, the car was just like rocking me to sleep, and I'm just totally out on this entire safari ride.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm super impressed with all your costumes and your dedication to powering through the day in the parks and the races. I don't know how you do it. I don't know that there's enough coffee in the universe that could get me through all that. So
I don't even drink coffee, so I don't understand.
Oh, wow.
That is crazy. Anybody else have any other questions for Jody, or I'm sorry, for Ashley, as we or Jody? I mean, if you have questions for Jody, she can answer them too, I guess.
I have a question. I was going to ask you, since this is your first time doing Dopey, what's been different in this training compared to what's been different in all your other trainings for all your other races? Have you found this one that much more difficult in a training plan, or do you find it so far to be pretty on par with what you've done in the past?
So the switch up between the 30-minute like week-long runs to the 45-minute ones were kind of a big jump for me. It's basically become like I'm running a 5K twice a week and then adding in the longer runs on the weekends. So that was probably the biggest thing for me. I don't think if I didn't have access to the gym at work, I don't think I would be doing as well, because I just don't have the time. I'm not a morning person, so there's no way I'm getting up and running before work, and I work a second job after work, and so the middle of the day is sort of that sweet spot of this is when we can accomplish things during the week. So that's helped a lot. I don't think there's ever been a training plan where I've actually followed the training plan as well as I should have. This one, I modified it, but I had certain things that I'm like, okay, we have to do these things before we get there. Like, I don't plan on running the full mock Dopey beforehand.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that.
I've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want practice with getting the back-to-back runs, even if they're at shorter distances. And I want my longest run for this to get up to, I think 22 miles was what I had on my plan. And then if I can do that it helps that I am on my feet all day with my jobs and everything. So at least my legs are used to like being stood on and walking around. And so it's just been, my biggest thing has actually been trying to be really careful in preventing injury. In the past, I've sort of pushed through and been like, we're fine, we can do this. And then it caused like bigger issues. So now this time I'm trying to be really careful and listen to my body. And like, if I need to walk more, that's great. If we need to take the day off, that's fine. We have to get to Dopey in one piece.
Very smart.
Yeah, that's wise way to approach it. I mean, I don't think I've never done a mock Dopey. If I've done a mock Dopey, I want a second set of medals for doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So no medals, I'm not doing it. But 22 miles, that's more than enough. And to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's plenty.
Yeah. Usually I stop at 20.
And you said Ashley, and I know Jean and Kevin, Lonnie, myself. Jody's kind of out on her own little island of getting her miles and stuff in. But I'm in a lot of other Run Disney groups right now, and I'm seeing so many people who are out there that are just trying to get miles in, and they're struggling, and just they're frustrated, they're scared, they don't know that they're getting everything in they need to, they're behind pace. Injuries happen, sickness happens, unexpected things come up. You're never going to get through a 28-week training plan unscathed. It's not reasonable.
Never.
But you just got to take a breath, step back for a minute, evaluate where you are, and then set a plan to go forward and just kind of relax. And it's not as bad as what you think it's going to be. Just do what you can and see what carries you through the rest. But I know right now panic is starting to set in for a lot of people. I know I was there a couple of weeks ago and I got talked off a ledge. But now's when that's starting to, there's long runs are kicking in and people are sitting like, oh crap, I'm not ready for this. But I think more people will be better than they think they are. They just got to get to the weekend healthy. So,
well, and if anybody feels like that, feel free to reach out to our group, because we've got a great group of support. And if you have any questions or anything, let us know. And we're always happy to motivate whenever somebody's going down and struggling through the miles. And that's what we're here for.
And I think you said it, Ashley, time on the feet. Like that's, every time I'm out walking the dog or I'm standing, today my son had a soccer game and I was standing during the first half of his game, just to stand instead of sit. Anytime that I can just be on my feet, I think all that adds up. So I think we're all going to be there celebrating at the finish line. So
with margaritas.
Exciting. With margaritas and 6 medals.
We're going to cheer you on, Ashley. We're going to be your fan club. We got you covered. Well, you got those other friends too, but I mean, besides them, us too.
Oh, no, they're going to leave me during the marathon. We've already talked about this. I'm going to have to find a different group to run with, because they run like 9-minute miles, and I'm like, all right, you go ahead. I'm going to hang out back here.
9-minute miles, is that possible?
That's way too fast.
I mean, yeah, that's
like the wind blows.
Yeah, it's funny. And Gene and I talked about it. I remember we ran a half marathon to kind of get a time. And I said, I'm going to come in just at this time so that I can get into an earlier corral. But then I was like, okay, or we'll just fall back. It doesn't make a difference, because when you go to Disney, you don't go to Disney to run a race for time. It's just me. I just don't see it, because if I wanted that, I can run one local. With the price to go to Disney, the travel, the hotels, to get into the races, those prices, I want to be on the course as long as I can.
And you have no idea how many pictures he takes. He wants to take pictures with.
I want every picture.
You
You can't rush pictures, and you know that because you take great pictures. So I want to be on the course as long as possible. If they say you have to be off the course in 8 hours, I'm shooting for 7 hours, 59 minutes, and like 45 seconds. And I'm gonna give those an extra 15 seconds just so that's
you take pictures right before the finish line.
Right before I'll stop right when he's up top, and I'll take a picture with him. That's the last 15 seconds. You're right.
But the problem is, Gene, nobody ever sees these pictures. There's a ton of pictures that I was in last year that I have never seen.
They're in the ether.
Yeah.
They're in the cloud, man. It's in the cloud.
I would love to see the pictures from last.
Lonnie's not responding.
He's all internet's not working. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's working. This is what I do.
All right, so moving on. Jody, what do we got next week on tap? I think we're to the point where we're extending out the long runs, right? They're not 2 weeks anymore. They're 3 weeks apart, right?
Correct. So we're about to enter week 18. Woo woo! So for those of us that are in the Dopey training plan, we have our 2 45-minute training runs and then a 6 miles with the Magic Mile. Would anyone like to explain the Magic Mile, or do we just want to move on from that?
I don't do that insanity. It's too much thinking.
I have never done it. I don't know what it is. I just always added it into my extra runs and did 7 miles of this.
Okay.
Okay, well,
I'll give some advice on
I've
the
done the
Magic
Magic Mile before. Kevin, you've run it before as well, right?
Yeah, I did mine this week because I'm a week
Okay,
ahead.
why don't you talk about it?
So what I typically will do is I'll try to run it a little bit harder just to kind of push myself a little bit. But the key is not pushing yourself to where you're just like huffing and puffing. You want to kind of find a good balance between what you feel like you could run a mile consistently at without doing intervals. So that's kind of where I put my Magic Mile. I usually do a 1 mile warm up and then I'll do the Magic Mile. And it's probably about what I would run my interval pace for marathon, something like that, and try to do that for a mile. That's the way I don't know if that's right or not, but that's how I usually do it.
Now, I do it the same way. I do the mile to warm up. You shouldn't try to do it at your first mile. Then you kind of push yourself, which you anticipate you want to do during that second mile. And then after that, I just finish off my run. So I think it's a good way to kind of gauge when we're doing another race. Like I said, not a Disney race, because for some reason I never get up to that pace anyway, but you know.
I did a lot of it in my training for my last half marathon, Magic Miles. So my formula was run 1 mile slower than race pace, transition directly into a mile at race pace, and then finish with a mile faster than race pace. So it was like
Negative
slow,
splits.
fast, fastest. And then, so that's how my plan was for training for my past, my half that I just did. So, but it's definitely, you use that Magic Mile should not be your first mile. And it's really just to push yourself and see what you could do. But it's, no puking, no dying.
If it starts to hurt, slow down. You're going too fast.
Yeah.
So
It starts to hurt walking to the mailbox, Kevin. What are you talking about?
I always laughed when I read the Galloway stuff, and it was like, you should do this at a pace where you're like comfortable still carrying on a conversation. I'm like, when I'm running, I'm not, it doesn't matter what pace I'm at, I'm not carrying a conversation.
Yeah, I can't do that walking. What are you talking about?
I'm going to sit in my chair at night.
My body's fairly good with being consistent, and so I like to just hang out at the pace that I can do for 3 miles, 6 miles, or 9 miles. Like, it just, once I find that happy place, we just kind of hang out there and we just work on increasing the miles with that.
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah.
So on my modified plan this week, I'm doing my 245s hopefully, but I'm going to try to bump up to 10 miles this weekend. I did 7 last weekend. This weekend I'm going to try to go up to 10. Not going to be fast, but again, time on feet, and Ford is a pace on that. So we will just try to knock that out, see how it goes. But I reserve the right to drop down to a lower distance should I feel the need. But we're going for 10 this weekend. What's your modified plan looking like, Ashley? What do you?
I think this weekend I'm trying for 12. I have arthritis in my feet, and so last weekend I tried to do 10 last weekend, and it didn't happen, and so I just walked more of it than I wanted to. But my feet were okay with walking, and so I worked on just like I sort of did intervals, but I did like a slower walking pace and a faster walking pace just to kind of push my walking, because I know that I'm going to be walking a lot during the marathon. And so if I can get my walking pace a little bit faster, we'll be doing good.
That's good.
I always try to get my walking pace faster, but I typically have my golden retriever with me, and she has to stop and smell and sniff and notice everything. So I'm like, come on, we gotta go. And she's like, but there's things and there's stuff that I have to look at. And so I always but never happens.
That walking cadence is important, because that was pretty walk and then slightly slower walk, probably for a good 6-7 miles. So that's nothing wrong with that at all.
Well, during the marathon this past year, I did intervals pretty consistently for 14 miles. And then one of the guys that I was running with was having some Achilles pain. And so we dropped down to walking for a bit. We tried to run a few times. It was bothering him. We kind of checked our pace and we're like, you know what, we're fine. Like, we've got enough of a lead on the balloon ladies. Like, we can walk. And so we ended up walking pretty much the rest of it. So the walking part I know is going to be really important. So I can.
And then, those medals are, in any of your merch, it doesn't have asterisks or, any parentheses next to it that has anything to do with walking or running or anything. It's just if you cross that finish line before the balloon ladies.
Or even slightly after them if they'll let you.
Oh, they will. I've done that. You can cross after them.
Really?
I have a picture of that. I'll send it to you.
A picture somewhere.
In my mind, they're just ruthless.
Well, I've actually ended up with them.
They start to speed up.
I've ended up with them before during one of the 10Ks because I made a bathroom stop and I came out and I didn't realize how close they were behind me. So I pretty much came out and then it's the bike people that are mean and they kind of yell at you. But the balloon ladies are really nice and encouraging. And I managed to sneak ahead of them again a little bit. But I was with them for a good mile just because there really wasn't room to get around.
Right.
Yeah. The same, I've always wondered this. I don't know anything about them, but is it the same ladies that start the race and finish the race? So they're walking the whole 26.2?
Yep. They don't necessarily do all the races. There's a team of them that kind of rotate races, but yeah, there's yep. It's impressive.
Yeah.
So all right. Anybody else have anything to add to the good of the order tonight?
Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us tonight and putting up with Gene. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
All right. Well, everybody, on behalf of the Ducks here with us and the rest not, we appreciate you, like I said, Ashley, for coming on and talking with us tonight. Everybody, good luck with their trainings in the upcoming weeks. For those doing wine and dine, you're less than 2 weeks out now. So get ready for that. That's coming up soon. Be looking for me and Carly and Riley at the 5K and then around the parks the rest of the weekend. We will be there. But until then, just remember, everybody, that forward is a pace. Have a good night, guys.
For sure.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.